carrying through life? How can our church be supportive of you? We're going to ask them to pray for the program, to pray for the congregation, and to answer their questions. Our print and visual folks, keep being active. Nate, we're not going to let you off the hook early. There's a thing called a journey guide that we're going to put together, which will be everything you wanted to know about your capital campaign, but we're afraid to ask. And Nate doesn't know it till his meeting after this, but he's going to be the one that puts that together, and we'll get it out to people sometime around January 11th. We'll have a social media strategy. I'm confident there'll be some web and visual stuff. And the teams that are active during this early January time, our communication leaders, our affinity leaders, our prayer leaders, and our executive team will continue to be active. And by the way, when you hear the term executive team, that means campaign chairs and pastor and Brad and I. Okay. From here, primary objective is a pretty simple one. It's to connect people. Chris, I liked what you said at the beginning. This isn't about building a building just for the sake of building a building, but it's about putting together a building that'll help us do ministry, that'll help us do a better job of reaching out to and caring for people. And that's the point we want to make during this phase. It's about people. It's about the impact we have on their lives. Next phase is what we call prayer or discovery. This happens beginning January 14th. It's 4 weeks bracketed by 5 Sundays. It ends on February 11th, which is your commitment Sunday. During this time, we're going to ask Chris to talk regularly about stewardship. I didn't say we're going to ask him to talk about money. We're going to ask him to talk about stewardship. We're going to ask him to talk about faithful discipleship. I understand he's pretty good at that. So we're going to have him keep on doing that. We'll probably do some Bible studies. We'll have some sort of congregation-wide prayer event or two. We'll do some educational things. We will have a couple of Sundays where we actually introduce the campaign into the worship life of the church. Sunday where we focus on giving God gratitude for everything that we've been blessed with. A Sunday where we try to connect the fact that we're doing this program for our ministry and to our future. The teams that are involved here, there's a team called Advanced Commitments Leaders. They're going to ask our congregational leadership, which includes all of you, to make their commitments early and to get some momentum going and get some enthusiasm happening. Our prayer team will continue to be busy. Our campaign chairs, this will be one of the times you'll see a lot of Chris up front and leading. And it all culminates on Sunday, February 11th, when we ask everybody to make their commitment, a 3-year commitment. 3-year commitment over and above your giving to your annual gifts to the church. But not something where we're going to ask you to write a check on February 12th. It's a commitment that you fulfill over
But you can.
3 years. You could do that, yep, or, cryptocurrency. But, the objective here is a pretty simple one, personal discovery of God's will. We want everybody to be in touch. We want everybody to be in prayer. We want everybody to be seeking God's leading. And one of the churches I worked at, as we were in this phase, I actually sneaked in one time to see exactly what that looks like, that everybody discerning God's will. And I got a picture of it, and I think it looks pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Everybody's saying, God, what do you want to do through me? Next phase we call response or sacrifice. February 12th through the 25th, the 2 weeks after Commitment Sunday. If this weren't the church, I'd call this the mop-up phase. There are going to be people on February 11th who are out of town, who are sick, who just can't be here. And how do we go about giving them an opportunity to get their commitment in before we declare that we're done? And so During this phase, we're gonna ask people to be praying about over and above, as I said, regular giving. We're gonna be asking people to make a 3-year commitment tied into what God is doing in the life of the church and what God will do in the future. We'll have a thing called a first fruits offering. And what that means is there will be a Sunday right after Commitment Sunday where we will ask everyone to make their first gift to begin to fulfill their commitment. If they want to do it all then, they can do that. If you're going to do it weekly, you do the first week. If you're going to do it monthly, you do the first month. And what's cool about that is we get in the habit of giving, of fulfilling, but it also usually is a Sunday when we say, whoa, God, what did you just do? Because it's usually the biggest offering that you probably ever received on a single Sunday. And so that's...
It's kind of cool that people can get started. You know, sometimes it's getting started, because sometimes, I know over the years, when we had these, people they get excited on Commitment Sunday, make a number, never start.
So this gets...
Get them started on First Fruit Sunday, then they're in the, okay, all right, they get started. It just really helps fulfillment.
So who's busy here? Our campaign chairs will be busy. Chris will still be busy. And 2 weeks after Commitment Sunday, and I think Chris will be in Florida by then or somewhere.
Lord, I hope so.
But you're going to make an announcement on February 25th of how you've done, how God has blessed you, how your people have responded. It'll be a grand day of celebration.
That's Sunday, right?
That is a Sunday.
I'm coming back.
Okay. Good. We'll let you. I'll bet you they'll let you come back. So announcement Sunday on February 25th, and then the first fruits offering that I talked about, this is a little bit TBD, but we'll probably give people 2 or 3 weeks to do their first fruits, again, recognizing that some people can't be here every week, and whatever date you pick, we miss a person or two. The primary objective here is to understand that we're not asking people to make an equal gift, but we're asking people to sacrifice equally based on how God has blessed them. We're not sure yet what the goal is going to be. As Kevin said earlier, it's probably going to be somewhere between $500,000 and $750,000. Let me give you an example. Let's pretend it's $500,000, and let's pretend that there's 50 families in this church who are active. And there will be somebody, if we do that, who'll say, 500,000 divided by 50 is whatever it is, $1,000 or $10,000. Here's your bill. Great math, lousy theology. Because God hasn't blessed us all the same. And what we're asking for here is for people to respond based on how God has blessed us. The last phase is called reach or follow-up. This is an opportunity as people fulfill their gifts. And if you look up there, it starts in March of 2024 and goes through February of 2027. That's the 3-year giving period. Communication to those who made commitments, to the church at large, including people who didn't make a commitment. You'll be communicating with us as we help you continue a strategy of fulfilling those commitments. You'll be communicating with new families, giving them an opportunity to participate, an opportunity to be part of this. We'll be celebrating ministry. Again, we're not doing this for billing. We're doing it to enable you to do ministry. What are those? How will we celebrate those as we come along? The team that's involved here is the REACH team. Is anybody here tonight that's agreed to serve on the REACH team?
That's you.
Eric.
Oh, fun.
Great job.
Obviously,
You're doing amazing.
Is it Eric?
Yes.
Obviously, Eric, they have not yet told you that you got the 3-year sentence.
I didn't realize I signed it.
Well, let me tell you how this works. As you go about the 3 years of helping people fulfill their commitments, Brad and I are going to help you put together a plan to do that. But I know where you can find about 25 other people who probably will help you do that. And that is, as Eric does his work, and you'll probably end up with a partner to do this, everybody here will have opportunities to help make it happen. So we look forward to doing that together. As I said, all of us will be involved in this. Primary objective here is finishing strong. When you get to Commitment Sunday, you're going to have a whole lot of good intentions and a pile of well-prayed over paper and no money. And what happens over the 3 years is the money comes in, you do the work. God blesses what we do together. Who are we as a leadership team? Well, let's kind of go through that real quickly. Anybody here who's an affinity leader? You're an affinity leader. So you're the one that's going to help put together this little presentation that we share with existing groups, with Bible studies and so forth. We'll give you great resources to help you do that. I've got one that I'll bet you can cross out the other church's name and put Grace Christian in, and you'll be pretty much ready to go.
Great.
But you got to figure out who the groups are and who's going to present, and we start training you next time, and we'll look forward to working with you to do that. Advanced commitments leaders, anybody here tonight that's one of those?
And I'm here, Roger and Sherry.
Okay. So advanced commitments leaders are going to work with our church leadership, our committed core, including all of you, as I talked earlier about making an early commitment. We'll get together with them sometime in early January. We'll get everybody together. We'll have a party. We'll celebrate. We'll invite them to make their commitments early, and that'll begin to be the momentum that takes us where God is taking us. Campaign chairs, Michelle, Kevin, there's going to be another couple working with them. Their overall guidance, they'll be the face of the campaign when it's not Chris. They are also going to divide all the rest of you up. And one of them, what did you say that you're going to be? You're not going to be some kind of cheerleader. Yeah. But they're going to be your support people. They're going to be there for you to help you. And you'll be hearing from them relatively soon as to who your support person, not cheerleader, who's going to be.
Maybe t-shirt that says like cheer team. GCC cheer team.
Kevin wants one that says not or communication leader, that's Nate, and we've talked enough about that. He's going to help us know what's going on. So I understand that he does that pretty well. Eric, here you are again, reach leader. You got the 3-year sentence.
Just a reminder.
Yeah. You're going to put together the first fruit Sunday offering and then the 3-year plan. And we'll help you do that. Where's Tina, our coordinator? Whoop, I went too far, didn't I? Tina's
Yes.
here. I want you all to get to know this lady. She is going to be the glue that makes this whole thing hold together. She'll be behind the scenes, handling the details, keeping Brad and I and Chris and Michelle and Kevin on the straight and narrow. She'll be a resource to all of you when you need meetings scheduled, when you need lists made, when you need materials prepared. She's already working on putting together a list of us. And you're gonna put that together and email it out to everybody so they can, when she sends it out, make sure you open it, make sure she's got the right email, the right, phone numbers, all of that sort of stuff, so that we can all communicate with one another as we need to. I've already told Tina she's my favorite person on this leadership team. No offense to the rest of you, but she's gonna make it good. Gratitude ministry leaders, are you here tonight? There we go. So you're the one that gets to help introduce us into a couple of worship services. We believe that everything we do is grounded in gratitude. God's blessed us. We start by giving thanks. We're going to find a way to do that in a worship service. Revealed in prayer, how do we know what God's calling us to do? Well, we ask God. God's still the owner of it, and so we ask God how to handle it. And then lived in faith. And so we will help you connect those things to a couple of worship services in January, and you'll be the star of the show for a couple Sundays. Actually, you'll be in the background making it happen. This matters a lot. We have some lead gifts leaders, and that's our three friends right over here. These folks are going to be working with the folks in the church whom God has blessed most abundantly, the ones who have the resources to make the top dollar value gifts. And they've already started their work. That's going to be one of the early phases of the campaign, again, to create some momentum and create some excitement for everybody else. So begin to pray for these three. As I said, they're already underway. We had our first meeting before this meeting, and they're already busy. We have any prayer leaders here? Hey, Scotty. Oh,
Yeah.
Tell me your name.
Landon.
Landon.
Two of us, yeah.
All right.
Landan.
Yeah.
Landan.
You guys, in many ways, are the most important people sitting at this table tonight. If we don't ground this in prayer, if we don't call people to a time of prayer and discernment, if we don't make sure that God shows up all the way through this, it's not going to be nearly as successful. So we're counting on you guys to help us be faithful, help us to bring God into the process in a very real way. The next thing I'm going to put up here is a swear word. It's called Basecamp. Have any of you worked with Basecamp in work or somewhere? Basecamp is an online tool that's got a whole lot of resources in it that will be available to each of you to help you do your work. Basecamp is a great tool. It's not the most intuitive piece of software I've ever worked with. But we will be sending you sometime in the next week or so an invitation. You'll set up a password, you can go in and begin to scroll around and look at your stuff. In your materials lying in front of you, there's a welcome to Basecamp page. Keep that with you. If you use that, you're not going to hurt anything. You will be able to get in, you will be able to begin to do your work. And Brad and I will help you with it as we go along. But
You have to have the invitation first.
you have to have the invitation before you get in, and we'll send that. Once Tina gets our list together and Brad and I can find some time together, we'll send you the invitation. Look for an invitation from Basecamp, okay? Next steps. Hopefully, if we've got a team pretty much together by this Sunday, I'd like, Chris, if you could, to introduce these folks during worship Sunday. You don't have to have them all at every service. You can just tell folks who's here and who's not here. It would be really cool if you could bring them forward and pray over them, or have them stand and pray over them.
Yeah, I think we want to talk about that.
Okay.
Since it will wait till the 22nd.
Okay, that works. That works. See, Tina, I told you that it would be the 22nd.
Well, it's just, we've got a short period of time.
No, that's
the
perfect.
15th, and I think the 22nd
No problem.
gives us a chance to get everyone up.
That's great, that's great. What's gonna happen here, a couple things. You're gonna get introduced. You're going to be affirmed and confirmed as people that God has called to do this work. But the other thing that happens when you guys get introduced is, guess what? It says to the congregation, hey, we're having a capital campaign. And it's a good sort of alert to get things moving. So you can do it the 22nd, the 29th, whenever you get your folks together, off we go. So that's gonna happen. I've asked Tina to work with Chris and Kevin to help get the word out to you as to when and how it's gonna happen. You're gonna get, as I said, an invitation to Basecamp. Look for an email I sent in the next day or two. It may be a little longer than that, but you will get one. And when you do go in, you set up a password, and you're a Basecamp person. Sign in, look around a little bit. The stuff that's in there is everything we're going to ask you to do from now till February. Don't get overwhelmed by that. Just take it a step at a time, and we'll help you do that. We'll help make it Next steps. So Brad and I are back on the 29th, which is a Sunday. And we have a bunch of meetings on the 29th at 1 o'clock. We're gonna meet with Chris. At 1:30, we're gonna meet with Tina. At 2 o'clock, we're gonna meet with the executive team. Who remembers who that is? Chris? Yeah, okay, you got it. 3 o'clock, lead gifts leaders. 4 o'clock, campaign leadership. Who is that? All of us. 5 o'clock, we're gonna do Nate. 6 o'clock, our student and children's leaders. And then we will hang around and be here on the 30th. 4:30 prayer leaders. 5 o'clock gratitude and ministry. 5:30 advanced commitment. 6:30, gratitude ministry, you're only meeting once. That's a typo. We'll do reach at 6:30. How'd that be, Gary?
We may have to work out a trade.
Yeah, and so here's the deal. Let me say something about these times. None of this is cast in stone, and we recognize to fit all this in, there's some things that are starting late afternoon. That may be difficult for some of you. Feel free to horse trade. Just please let us know if you horse trade, and try to trade. Some of your meetings are half an hour, some are an hour. Don't trade an hour into a half-hour slot or we'll have real problems. But feel free to swap back and forth. And if it just flat out doesn't work, call Brad, call me, and guess what? We'll Zoom with you. We'll find another way to do it. We'll stay a little later on Sunday night. We'll find a way to make it work for you. So here's what I'd tell you about these meetings. They're all important. Work with us as best you can to be there. We'll be as flexible as we can be. And on the campaign leadership, every time we're here, we will get together and do this spiritual journey together. And what I would tell you is this: I know that when we put this campaign calendar together, we did not have all of your personal calendars in our possession. And I'll guarantee you there's a meeting somewhere where one of you is going to be on vacation, you're going to be at your kid's graduation, you're going to be somewhere, and you can't be here. And that's okay. We understand that. What I'm asking you to do, though, is tonight go home and put these on your calendar, and where there's a place to put them on and preserve them. This is important stuff that we're doing together.
Craig, could you say something about children and youth? Because Courtney is sitting back there thinking.
Oh.
Skating right along.
I guess I skipped you, didn't I? So who here thinks that our children and youth are the church of tomorrow? Who here thinks our children and youth are the church of today? We want them involved in this, don't we? They will model generosity for us, I'll guarantee that. We will teach them things about stewardship and discipleship that they won't learn anywhere else. And they will, we'll know they're here, they'll make a difference. And Courtney, thank you for saying yes. And we'll train you up next time and get that off and running. We put that on Sunday night. I don't know if you have a youth gathering on Sunday night that you're part of or not, but I was hoping I could do a twofer with you, but we'll make it work. Okay? Did I skip anybody else?
Well, there's one team on the left. The housing, the response.
No, we're not doing a response to. So. All right, so I've got a Bible question for you.
Jesus.
It's
always the answer.
Always the answer.
Sounds like God, but I think sounds like a squirrel, but I think it must be God. Who are the other 10 spies? Who knows what I'm talking about?
Oh my God.
So Israel people going into the promised land, send 12 spies in, one from each tribe, 3 questions as they go in. What's the land like? And they come out and all 12 of them say it's a beautiful, wonderful, lush, fertile land. It's everything that God has promised us. There are people there, the grapes are so big they have to carry them across their back. It's that lush, it's that fertile. All 12 agree. How's it defended? Well, there are giants there. All 12 said that. They got walled cities, they got trained armies. I mean, it's well defended. And all 12 agreed. What then shall we do was the third question. And this time the vote is 10-2. 10 of the people said, well, Moses, not sure this is a really good idea. You know, Moses, it wasn't so bad back in Egypt. Moses, why don't we just put this aside and not do it? 2 of the spies said, God has promised us the land, and God has promised to be with us. Beautiful. Who were those 2? Joshua and Caleb. We remember Joshua and Caleb, don't we? A few years ago, I think it was 2 or 3 years in a row, the 2 most popular boys' names in the country were Joshua and Caleb. You probably have a little Joshua or Caleb or 2 running around here somewhere. We remember who they were. We don't remember the other 10 that said, we can't do this. It's not going to happen. It's God who has put us here and equipped us for this important work. When Brad and I met with Chris and Kevin to ask them to begin to recruit you folks, we asked them to pray. And I don't think there's anybody who's in the seat that you're in tonight by accident. I think you're all here because God has called you to do this work, and God calls us to do what God equips us to do. We'll be the ones who are remembered for carrying it out. There'll be people in this church who will say, Chris, I'm not sure this is a really good idea. Economy's bad.
Already I hear that, already read.
The church we're in, it's not so bad. We can survive there a while longer. Let's just turn around and not do this. But 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, you're the people that this congregation will look back on and say they're the ones that had the vision. They're the ones that helped get us to the place that God has promised for us. They're the ones that allowed us to get there. Gang, thank you. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for loving this church so much that you've come to serve it in this way. Brad and I are anxiously looking forward to getting to know you, getting you training, being here to help you, being here to walk on the journey with you. Thanks for being here tonight. And other than me, we're all finished. But before we do that, Chris, would you like to offer a word of prayer to dismiss us?
Chris, can I have one thing? One thing I would encourage you to do, I wouldn't encourage you to depend totally on Chris or Kevin or Michelle to choose every person on every team. They can't do that. You know, some of you are like prayer. like Reach, like Affinity, like the worship experience, Nate's team. I think all of you, if you know some people who like, wow, that's, well, maybe one thing, they're a good friend and they'll work hard. I would invite them onto your team because it's more fun to work with a group of people, for one thing. And as Craig said so many times earlier, the farther we can spread this to more people involved, the more people that own the whole thing. And it just gives everybody a sense of we did this together. But don't depend on Chris to pick all your folks. I know when I was a pastor, I just encouraged lay people to add other lay people, because you have more connections in your circles than we know in leadership sometimes. You know, you might know the people that might be really gifted in your area, or just maybe need to be connected. So go to it as you think about it. Pray about that too. Like, who else could I invite into my team? There's a couple of teams, like Kevin and Michelle are not gonna go out and invite 20 people into their team. They can't. But some of the teams are perfect for including as many people as you can.
And part of our training for you will be to help you to do that and know who to get and so forth. So be thinking about it, be praying about it, and then we'll turn you loose to go get them. Chris, send us on our way.
Father, we